Okay, so today has been an interesting day and a lot of anger. So I have cooled down since then. But this morning, okay, so at 5 o'clock, I fed the dogs and I went and took them all outside just to make sure that the newbie could go out there as well, since she doesn't do the dog door. And sat out there for a little bit. And when we came back in the house, my dad's walking through the family room bare ass naked, going to the bathroom, like going in the direction of the bathroom, right? Irritating enough. And he may have had strokes, but he is not out of it enough to not know he needs to have clothes on. He chooses to do this because it is, again, another way that he's trying to force me to have to deal with shit, right? Now, where it gets really irritating is, okay, so I get up and get ready, and I come over here to hang out with my little corgi sidekick, and I took her back over there with me so she could run around the backyard with the big dogs for a while. And when I went, like, every time I went through there, it's like something smells weird. And, you know, I went through and made sure all the windows were open because it was smelling funky. And in the process of doing so, I see there is a big brown spot on the brown carpet. And it has a towel thrown over it. That is it. No attempt to be cleaned up otherwise. And I noticed this when I was passing through on my way to open the window in the bathroom and, you know, come back out. It's like, okay. And of course, we had 6 dogs running around at that point because this little heathen was with us. But Taz, I am confident, got into it because he's nasty like that. So I go back to my parents' room where they're both laying in bed. And I say, so is it coffee or is it shit that is on the carpet in here? And he said, shit. And it's like, well, then you need to fucking clean it up because I'm not doing it, right? That is on you. It is not on me. And he's like, well, I'm going to clean it up here in a little bit. It's like, no, you shit on the fucking carpet. You need to get in here and clean it up now. Corgi's looking at me all crazy. Anyway, there was a big back and forth. My mom, of course, heard it because she was laying right there. And yeah, so I go back out and yeah, I think I was trying to make a breakfast bowl or something to eat elsewhere. And he still hadn't got it done. And then Taz showed up. So the first little side note was before I realized Taz was in before he got involved in checking it out, of course. And when I was eating my breakfast bowl in my office, Taz showed up. It's like, dude, you fucking stink. So I go back in there, and it's like, the dogs are getting in the shit. You need to fucking clean it up. It's just... Sorry. Big ordeal, right? So I sent my brother a picture and said, apparently we're shitting on the carpet now and leaving it. And we're in agreement that that man needs to be in a fucking nursing home. If he refuses to take care of himself to the extreme that he does, he needs to be elsewhere because clearly he's not going to do it himself. And I am not going to do it either. I have wasted enough of my life trying to cater to their bullshit. Now that I realize what the fuck is going on, I'm not going to do it anymore. So I was talking to my brother, and, you know, I went ahead and told both of my aunts, my mom's sisters, and the family friend that knows I've been working on manifesting my way out of there what was going on. And they were kind of I mean, appalled, really. The youngest sister, I think she's more inclined to try to be wanting to paint them in a good light, and it's not going to work. I think I kind of upset her earlier, honestly, because one of the things that I sent her after that, and I said, and yes, he was aware that he did it, and yes, he chose to walk away and let it be somebody else's problem. You know, a couple years ago, he did that at Christmas at her house on the carpet, but then it was an issue where he couldn't make it to the bathroom in time, and my mom got to clean it up since it was, you know, she didn't have a broken back at that point, and it was at her sister's house. But it was a big whole ordeal, and, you know, kind of the reason for beginning to carry a diaper bag around the house, or around for my father when he goes out anywhere. But one of the things I said to my aunt, I said, do you remember about 2 years ago when we had a conversation and you said at some point I need to have my own life? And I said, I don't know how. And she said, yes, she did remember that. And I said, I figured it out. I know why I haven't been able to have my own life. I know what was getting in the way. I said, it's my family. My parents did not raise us to have our own lives. We were supposed to only ever feed into this toxic system, and that was supposed to be like the whole basis for our existence, and we're supposed to just drop everything to cater to their bullshit while they, you know, intentionally go about being as disgusting as possible in his case, and, you know, we're just supposed to deal with it. We're not supposed to do anything about it. She made a comment about how the last 2 years have been hard, especially on our family, and she knows my mom's been under a lot of stress, and I had a lot of stuff going on, and I said, don't paint her out to be a victim. She's not a victim in this. I said, she is a product of her own making. She has continued over and over to say, you know, how bad health, you know, in bad health she is, and how, you know, everything hurts all the time, and, you know, she's basically set herself up for the shit that she's had gone wrong. And I said, even the thing that, even this breaking her back thing, right? So I said, Sunday and the day before, I had made a comment to her about she needs to figure out how she's going to make it work when I leave, because I will be leaving soon. And I said, initially, she made a comment that, well, that's good, and she was glad because I need to have my own life. But she did not mean it. I said I said, as far as the health, or the back thing goes, and the fall and all this stuff, I said, first off, she chose to try to carry a bunch of heavy stuff, or complicated stuff anyway. The glass 9x13 pan, that's heavy. The soup pot that she'd taken the vegetable soup over in, even though it was empty, that and the glass lid, also heavy. You know, the bag with the Rice Krispie treat things, and the meat in it, that wasn't heavy. It was in a bag and go over her arm fine. The other stuff was heavy, and she had something else in there. Oh, yes, she did have her purse. And I think her big water cup. It's like, so she had her hands full, and she should have known, since she's been having dizzy spells, and, you know, maybe it's not ideal to try to carry all that stuff by herself. But she was just going to do it anyway. I said, and besides that, I said, my sister-in-law has been telling her for a while that she needs to work on balancing out the diet end of things, because she lost a lot of weight in a short span of time because of the Manjaro shit, and she needs to be eating protein and whatnot and not just grapes all the time. I said, and yet because she hates my sister-in-law and refuses to think that she might know anything at all, refuses to allow that thought to be in her head whatsoever, she chose to ignore it, right? I said, she said that months ago. She said that more than once. And yet, she chose to ignore it. I said, so this is entirely a product of her making, and it's conveniently after I told her at some point she needs to figure out how she's going to do this when I'm not there. She is very much not a victim in this whole fucking thing, and I'm tired of everybody making it out that way. It's like, she is not. I don't remember the final thing that I said that made my aunt stop talking, but she did stop talking. So my brother and his wife were appalled at the situation and said they could have a rental truck for me in the next couple days. I was like, I got this corgi here that I am babysitting for a week and a half. So obviously that's not a real good possibility at this point. If my mom hadn't broken herself, she could have handled the corgi over there, probably, if I wasn't around with my dogs also. But now she's broken, so that won't be a thing anyway. But my dad is just disgusting and a miserable human being who is trying to be as miserable and disgusting as he possibly can to make somebody else have to deal with him. And I had this weird thought. There was a few years ago when I was working at the group home in Shelbyville. I was working night shift, so I was leaving the house at like 11 o'clock. And it was one of those things, it's like it wasn't actually there, but like out of the corner of my eye I saw this kind of brown blobby looking energy. Honestly, the term that's coming to mind to label it, if I must label it something, is shit demon. But I remember just having the sense of like being watched, and it felt like something very dark and gross, and that's the best I can describe it. But after the stuff that's going on with my father recently, it's like, I feel like that could be something that explains him. Like it's always kind of been there, but not to the extent that it is now. So I'm gonna have to sit with that thought for a little bit longer. But like I remember seeing it. I was working at the group home in Shelbyville, and it was like 11 o'clock, and I was getting ready to go to work. So I'm wanting to say probably 2008, 2009-ish, but it was like over by the side of the house, like at the corner. It's like, it's just a really weird feeling. And of course, if you look directly in that direction, you don't see anything, but then also when I was working at the group home, there's like, there was always this, there was this one client that I called him the religious nut because he was very obsessed with religion and very extremely hateful. And like at one point, I think he busted into a church and was yelling about their pastor being a heretic or something, and was trying to, and the property, they had one of those crosses with like the purple fabric or whatever, and he was trying to tie himself to the cross, I guess. So it was a whole weird thing, but he never sat right with me, and he was always just very hateful. And when I had to do bed checks, because I worked night shift, so I had to make sure everybody was where they were supposed to be, every time I opened the door of his room, it felt like there was this dark, ominous presence hovering over him. It was just like, you know, it was just, he wasn't somebody I wanted to be around. It was just very unnerving. But I don't think I was afraid of it by any means. It was just give me the heebie-jeebies, I guess. But then after it was a little bit after that, we had this one girl that lived there, and it was like a couple days later, I think, she comes in and she's talking like she's kind of out of her head sounding, right? So she's saying all this stuff, and then she says, and nobody likes this guy because he's got dark shadows around him. It's like, cool, I'm seeing what the clients are seeing. And so I told my coworkers about it. It's like, yeah, so this happened. There was just some weird energy at that place. A lot of people claimed that they saw this like woman in a really old Victorian style maybe kind of dress at the top of the stairs. I felt it there before, as like anytime I went to the basement to check the fridge temps and make sure the basement door was locked, because we had clients that liked to sneak out that way on occasion. It was always kind of unnerving when I walked through there, like, because I had like the laundry room with the refrigerators in it was to the right of the stairs, and the back door was to the left, or through a room that was on the left, and quite a ways around. It was actually kind of behind the top of the stairs. So just kind of, I don't know, but like I always felt like I was being watched in there. And the blinds they ended up getting after they did some construction in the house, like the blinds were like this, there's a weird noise, and I don't know if it was in the house or out there. It sounded like it was probably the litter box. It's like, what the hell was that? Okay, anyway, so there were like these metal blinds, and they were in the window. So you had the little slide thing, and then just like opened and closed them. I don't like them, but I especially didn't like them with with all the lights on. They're like super reflective. With just a couple lamps on and then more lights out in the other area, it didn't bother me as much because I didn't notice the reflection as much. But if I had the overhead light on, then it's like I would catch like little weird movements out of the corner of my eye, and it's like, not okay with that. So it was just a weird thing. There was one night I got like really tired all at once, and I like put my head down for like 10 minutes, I think, to close my eyes. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and as I'm sitting there with my head on my arm on the corner of the table, I hear my name. And I was like, that's weird, because it was like it was whispered right here by my head. It's like, Sarah. It's like, the fuck, right? So I like sit up and I'm looking around, and there's nobody around there. And I like walked all the way around to make sure there wasn't any of the clients awake. I went upstairs and did a bed check. Everybody was where they were supposed to be, but I heard my name clear as day, and it was like, cool. Not a fan of that. um, so yeah, fun stories from the group home. We always the staff enjoyed sharing the weird stories and whatnot. When I was working in the night shift, I always took my computer with me, and I would have Disney movies that I would play so I could hear what was going on. It's like, I didn't even have to be watching them, but I wanted the company in the room, if you will. So I had like Disney movies playing so I wouldn't freak myself out. And like, could never go with anything that was like super dark. Like one time I took Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was before I really got into it, and then it's like, when I started watching it, it's like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out for me. It's too dark for being in this space awake by myself when weird stuff happens anyway. But yeah, so anyway. The funny thing is, okay, so the shit with my dad today, literal shit with my dad, this morning, I was trying to figure out what I was going to wear, right? Excuse me, sorry. Nope, she's done now. I think somebody has pottied on the floor in here. So sorry if you saw that, but it's like old spots that just needs the carpet cleaned. But anyway, since I flipped the phone, and I'm pretty sure I got those in there. Oops. Anyway, this morning when I was in bed, I had thought about wearing my shirt, right? I had originally said the other day that I was going to wait till I had to go spend the day with my parents, right? And then, like, if they had more appointments to run or whatever, and then save it for that day. And it's like, I felt really strongly like I was meant to wear it today. And of course, you know, non-serviam. So the back of it has a figure on it that says, I will not serve. And so I went ahead and got ready, put that on, and went with the onks today. So yeah, it just seemed like what I was meant to do. And that was before I discovered that there was shit on the floor and that he had just left it there. And I was pretty sure it was probably there for quite a long time because it smelled really funky. And it's like, before, like, initially, like when I was walking through to go, like, take the dogs out and all that, it's like, it smelled weird, but I wasn't in there long enough because I walk pretty quick, I guess. So, like, I never think that I'm really walking super fast until I'm somewhere with somebody that's not. And then it's like, kind of just, I don't know, it's just a whole weird walking thing. But I always have to adjust my pace for whoever I'm walking with, so excuse me. I got cat hair up my nose, or dog hair. But yeah, so I felt really strongly that I was supposed to wear this one today, so I did. And then, that whole situation came up, and it was just like, and mind you, I've been listening to that cord cutting sound bath thing overnight pretty regularly since I found it, which I found it on Sunday, which was when, all hell broke loose with my mom breaking her back and having to go to the hospital, and just the way all of that came up. And yeah, and like I talked about that night, like I started with this twin flame reunion frequency thing that I was listening to, and when I woke up, it's like I was like just livid. And it was like, I don't want to put that kind of energy in this connection, so I need to not be listening to anything to do with that. And then, like, I found this, it was a Healing Vibrations sound bath that he had just posted Sunday, interestingly enough. So when I'm looking for something and then, it pops up because I subscribed to his channel, it's like, look at that. Like, it was just timed perfectly. And so I listened to it, and it's like, when I woke up, I was in a much better mood, and decided that I'm going to listen to that probably daily until I get my ass out of there. So I kind of feel like, universe is definitely working me in that direction, being ready to get the fuck up out of there and do so very quickly. You know, I mean, my shirt fucking says non-serviam. I will not serve. So then when my dad leaves his shit on the floor that I'm supposed to clean up, like hell you say, right? So I just went in there and unloaded. It's like, no. And yeah, obviously I have calmed down immensely since then. Dog hair. And you know, when I was talking to my brother, he's like, you gotta get out of there. I was like, I know. I do know this. I said, I know I have to be here at least through, you know, their trip because I agreed to hang out with the corgi. But beyond that, there's no plans. But I am in go mode. Like I said in the recent videos, like, this is not my fucking home. This is just somewhere where I'm staying, and it is time to move with that really in mind. And so, you know, after I was pissed off and my brother said I needed to move out of there, it's like, yes. Actually, I also reconnected with a friend I hadn't talked to since like January, so yeah, that's different. Never actually met in person, but talked a lot online for a few years. Drop my clip. Oh well, I'll put it back later. It was actually kind of funny because I got a reading from her online about 5 years ago. I wanted to say the stuff that I wrote down what she said at the time, which is a good thing I did because I was trying to scroll back through it and find those messages a while back, and it's like, we've talked too much since then. That was like, I wanted to say it was probably 2020, but you know, she's talking about like this, I don't know that she referred to the twin flame connection, but like everything she described for like this person that was coming in and some kind of online connection initially. It was just like, you know, I was just like, all right, I'll keep an eye out, right? So when I found the journal that I had taken the notes in, I'm pretty sure I kept that one. I've burned a lot of old journals, but I'm pretty sure I kept that one because of that stuff. It just seemed like everything was really on point with everything that's happened on the twin flame connection so far. But of course, you know, we still haven't met in person at this point, which I'm confident is, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm confident we're not going to until I have fully stepped into who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I'm getting damn close. I feel that, like, and it's interesting, like, even with the shit with my parents, it's like everything right now is intentional. It's divinely guided, right? There is a reason for everything that is happening or has happened. And I have always wanted to believe that. Earlier, I let myself get talked out of it a lot, but here lately, especially since I started protecting my boundaries, you know, I'm going to say that's probably the biggest key in everything that's going on, is once I started setting my boundaries and really started paying attention, and it's like, there's a whole lot more going on than I was ever aware of. So, you know, so obviously we don't mess with that now. We're very, very protective of the energetic boundaries and cord cutting stuff with the family and all that stuff. But it's like all the tedious bullshit that's been going on with my parents over the past couple years. You know, like even going back to that freaking video I did where he called me the dumb bitch, right? And then I don't know at what point after that I said I feel like he's killed me in other lifetimes. I am confident of that. And I honestly feel like he would do that to me now if he could get away with it. And it could be as easy as I pissed him off, and thus he wanted, once upon a time he accused me of being a witch or whatnot, and then, witch trials were a thing. Was that a specific time frame with one of these encounters? Well, that I don't really know, but it's like I feel like there have been multiple lifetimes where he has killed me, or set me up to be killed, and always tried to keep me from what I was supposed to be doing, right? So, yeah, and I have been getting a lot of the messages talking about ending karmic cycles, and there's a big ending coming up, and I feel like it's this situation, and I did make the comment to my aunt earlier that that was the family friend. I didn't see all of the message she said, but she finally responded back. She said, OMG, when I first sent her the message, because of course I told her that I've been working on manifesting my way out of there, right? So this is the universe motivating me to stay moving on this manifestation thing of getting the fuck up out of there by making it increasingly uncomfortable to be there, right? So, so 2 years ago he called me a dumb bitch, and honestly, even back then, I made the excuse that I didn't take it personally because that's something he uses for any woman he doesn't like. But now it's like, you know what? I think that's part of where where I was wrong, honestly. I should have always just held him accountable for that. But me being me, knowing that people are living from any kind of wound, I used to make excuses for that. But I have come to realize, especially, my uncle dying last year was the thing that really hit home, that I don't know what anybody else's soul has intended for them to learn from this lifetime. So it's like, if whatever they come here to learn, you can't get in the way of their life's lessons. So while I have, I've talked a lot about knowing that I'm supposed to be a healer, but then not ever knowing what that's supposed to have looked like, and being very frustrated that it felt like I was very disconnected from being able to do so. But it's like, I feel like a big part of why I've been disconnected from that side of me is that I was going out of my way to try to take care of everybody's problems, and that's not something I can do, right? So it had to be me starting to choose me, and allowing people to deal with the consequences of their own actions, right? So, like everything with my grandfather and my grandmother and my parents, just like any of it, right? Leaving them to have to deal with their own consequences. They have continuously talked about how unhealthy they are or whatever. My grandfather, we were supposed to obsess over his death, and yet he wouldn't die. But he wouldn't die because he was sucking the life out of the rest of us, trying to make us stress out over his death. It's like, no. Once I figured out that, like that day that I woke up, he was at the rehab hospital. I had gone there a couple times with my aunt, mom, and grandma. And then I woke up one day and I woke up crying, and I, basically had this conversation with him in my head of, I have mourned your death for 33 years, and I will not do it a moment longer. And it really amped up the pace in which he finally did die. Finally kicked the bucket. But, that was in August, and he still didn't die until December. And, I've talked about how he was notorious for hijacking all birthdays and all holidays to make it a day to obsess over the possibility of him dying. Right? It did not matter what the event was. If everybody got together, he was going to be talking about his death. This is going to be the thing that kills me. This shit's going to kill me. That kind of stuff, right? Never once was he thankful for the times his cancer was in remission, or, I think he had lung cancer and leukemia, and there were times when, I want to say, at least the leukemia, I think it went into remission like a couple times. But it's like he was never grateful for the fact that he was still here. He was still obsessed over, this shit's going to kill me. This shit's going to kill me. Well, I mean, the way you're talking and you're not being grateful for anything, yeah, it should. Just what's your holdup? But on that end, Thanksgiving. Okay. The day before Thanksgiving, he was in the hospital, and they, because holidays for nursing homes and hospitals, if somebody's getting ready to be moved out from one space, they try to do it before the holiday so they don't have to worry about that crap on the holiday, right? So the day before Thanksgiving, the hospital's kind of pushing to get it done, right? To get him out of there and back over to the nursing home because they knew he was going to go there. So on Thanksgiving, he's at the nursing home, and my aunt had gotten it arranged so we could borrow their, they had a day room kind of a thing. And we were going to have, we went there with all the food, and we were going to meet and eat there, and he could eat with us, and have a family dinner at the nursing home. And the morning of, I know he was struggling to breathe. I don't know if he was coherent at all. But, my mom and her sisters and, my cousins went back there to check in with him. I wouldn't go. It's like, I don't even fucking care. Of course, right? We're having this Thanksgiving meal at the nursing home so we could include him. And now, he's got something else going on because that was his thing. Hijacking all holidays, all birthdays, making it all about him, right? So here he goes. It's like, Thanksgiving, we're at the nursing home. We've got the food mostly set up, and we're dealing with this other shit because he's getting ready to have to go to the hospital again. But also, they were like, well, it's going to be a little bit before they get here, so you should all go ahead and eat, and So my mom and her sisters, I don't think did. My grandma was in there, but I don't know if she actually ate anything or not. But she was typical too, so it's just like, I'm just not engaging. And my cousin, the one that knows about the YouTube thing, she just kind of looked at me, and it's just like, because of course. She knew exactly what I was thinking because I've said it many times in videos, in person, and all that fun stuff. It's like, she knows. It's like, without a fail, every single time, if he can hijack something, he's going to hijack it, right? And that was what Thanksgiving basically amounted to. And then there was, there's just fucking always drama. I don't remember exactly what everybody was mad at my brother and his family for at that point. But they were there, and it's probably just they weren't concerned enough to be there every waking minute of the old man's life because, my niece didn't need to be in the middle of it. His fucking drama. And her mom and dad kept saying they didn't want her in the middle of all that crap, right? But they went to the hospital so they could check in with them, right? And so I think, I don't know how it worked out, but my mom ended up making sure that kid was back there with my grandfather because, she's supposed to, let him hug her and all that stuff so he can latch onto her energy and try to, suck the life out of the little kid. And here I brought you this the sacrifice, right? This child that you can suck the life out of, right? She wasn't supposed to be in that emergency room or whatever space it was at that point in time. And her mom and dad were kind of pissed that it ended up working out that way. But I know they went up there to visit or to check in with themselves with him, but they hadn't wanted the kid in the middle of it. And then, of course, between my mom and my grandma, I think they made sure to get her back there. It's like, yeah. Anyway, going back to the grandfather thing. It's actually kind of fitting because he couldn't hijack Thanksgiving thoroughly, right? I mean, he did pretty sufficiently make it about him. But then, there was he wasn't out of the hospital anymore at that point. He was, so that was Thursday, of course, Friday and Saturday. Maybe Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. There was some drama with my mom trying to make a big deal about everybody was at the hospital and we needed to be there. He needed us there. He needed everybody there. And we were just like, it was actually kind of funny because my brother and his family went to Inner Path and I had decided to go that way too. So I actually was there at the same time they were. And, Gracie was kind of following me around for a little bit. But there's this whole conversation going and my mom's texting us about we're the only ones that aren't there. It's like, I know that's not true because I'm pretty confident that my, the one cousin, the one that I was relieved when he was born because I wouldn't be at the shit list by myself. That cousin, I knew he wasn't there because that was also a thing that his mom was upset about because he sent her a message and was like, for 6 years, I have been told I need to rush home because my grandfather is dying and he is not dead yet. And he said, I cannot, because he works multiple jobs when he can. And he said, I cannot continue to just drop everything for my jobs to go up there just to find out he's not dying again. And I guess he specified that he will show up for weddings and funerals, and that's it. It's like, well, I don't blame you. So, yeah, but it's like I knew he wasn't there, and yet, my mom was like, everybody's here. It's like, yeah, we're not, and we're not rushing either, So, I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday. But there's like a group text going on and it's got my parents, me, my brother, and my sister-in-law in it. And my mom's making a big deal about everything. And my brother and I were just kind of, we were all just kind of not making a big deal about it, not fussing over it, not agreeing to go for that matter. It's like we were just very kind of standoffish. And I don't think I didn't tell her that I would go up there until I was already there. And I mentioned it to my brother, and I don't think they went up at all because they didn't want Gracie around it. Anyway, always drama, right? So anyway, when I got up there, she made this I said, what room number? And she's like, oh, great, you're coming. He could really use a hug. And it's like, I've never hugged that man in my life, I don't think. I probably did when I was little, but I don't think I've ever been inclined to want to. And This energy thing is a big reason why, because he literally he existed to hijack energy and suck the life out of everybody else. He was an energy vampire to like the full extreme, right? And so, yeah. If she makes this big deal about how he could use a hug from me, it's like, I'm not hugging that man. I didn't say it. But when I walked into the room, my mom and my grandma were there, and they were the only ones at that point, I think. And, you know, when I walk in, my mom makes a big point to go over and move his table out of the way so I can get in there and give him a hug. I pushed the table back and sat down at the foot of the bed. And, like, they just looked at me. It's like, don't care. Right? It's like, I have to say it, but they, you know, message received. And, like, the biggest thing is there at the end, like, he would look at me like he was trying to get some sort of, basically the narcissistic supply, right? He was trying to get something out of me, right? So that's the one thing, like with my dad today, like the anger, I feel like he probably really enjoyed that part because at least he got the attention. He doesn't care if it's good or bad. He just wanted the attention, right? But yeah. Going back to my dad hijacking birthdays and holidays, or my grandpa hijacking birthdays and holidays. You know, so when he didn't end up dying on Thanksgiving, on December 3rd, day before my mom's birthday, my mom and my sister-in-law's birthday. But of course, you know, the sister-in-law's birthday is kind of irrelevant as far as the family goes. It's all about Donita. So, yeah. But my mom finally told him the day before her birthday that he couldn't die on her birthday. And that's the only reason he died the day before, I think. You know, and even then, you know, he might have not died actually on her birthday, but she still was ass deep in funeral arrangements on her birthday. So it's like, yet again, a way that he made her birthday about his death, right? So it's like, oh, it only makes sense that that was going to be how that all worked out. But there again, that was that was their, you know, they were in that energetic agreement. So, you know, and they put up with the shit. They enabled the shit. So it makes sense that it worked out that way. But yeah, I packed up almost all of my books today. I think one box shy from all of them. But they might go in a different container. But I took those all over to the storage unit. Took some, like, I have these grow lights from my great grandma. Had them on her, she had like this little sunroom kind of a thing they called the porch. And she had a ton of African violets that she had under them. So I got the lights, and they used to match my lamp, but I painted my lamp, so they do not match it anymore. However, if I go to use them again, I probably will paint them because, I mean, that green's not a very pretty color. It's not anywhere near that one. I don't know. It's just not a great, it's kind of olive drab, if you will. So it's not like a spectacular color or anything, but just, I thought about even selling them to get some money out of them, but I think I'll keep them since they do match my stuff, or did match my stuff, and I can paint them. But there were some other things at the storage unit today that I was looking at. It's like, I can sell that. So I'm going to, I think, okay, I had somebody mention the box springs that I have posted, but they said they can't pick them up until this weekend. It's like, well, no guarantees that they'll still be here, but if they're still here, okay. So then it's just a matter of if she remembers that she said she wanted them. Otherwise, I've decided I'm going to pull everything off of both OfferUp and the marketplace and repost them. So we have it refreshed at the top of the groups for sale and whatnot. You know, at one point my mom made this big deal about, you're not selling any of your kitchen stuff, are you? It's like, I really want to. I just really don't want to, like, I feel like, okay, the marketplace on Facebook is where I have, on the one hand, I want to say better luck, but on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure I do. I think some things sell better and quicker on there, and others better on the other thing. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably going to pull everything off and repost so it's more updated, and then hope it goes quicker. And like, I don't have any attachment to most of that kitchen stuff, to be honest. Again, it's like I'm not really big into the whole like cooking and whatnot. It's not really my thing. Like the big fancy ass KitchenAid mixer and whatnot. It's like I used it when I was with my ex like twice, and he used it a couple times, and it's like, it's huge. It's a pain in the ass to clean. It's a pain in the ass to get out from under the thing, because we had it in the cabinet, but we didn't want it out all the time. It was just like, honestly, I don't want it from the standpoint of the connection to my ex. But my mom got it for me, so I'm supposed to just treasure it forever. She's got one and she doesn't use it anymore. And she did like cooking for a long time, and she used to do it a lot. Of course, she may never again since my grandfather's dead, once in a great while. But then, it's go back to that whole, broken back thing. So that's kind of slowed everything down. Anyway, like, I was really pissed for all that shit earlier today. And then once I spent time putting stuff, like packing up my books and getting them over to the storage unit, I did feel a lot better. So when I leave here, I'm going to take this little corgi sidekick back next door with me and feed the dogs all together, and then I will probably work on packing some more stuff up and getting my bookcases out of there. Now, kind of exciting thing, I guess, that happened, but then it's also kind of frustrating. The little shadow puff has figured out how to use the dog door. Mind you, I've pushed her through it a few times and pulled her through it a few times, with the leash, and kind of one hand on the back end and kind of pushing that way. And she discovered if she's with the others, it's not a big scary thing, and she can go out. And she would go out like with Ziva's butt. As long as somebody else was there with her, she could make it work. And when I brought this one back over to her house today, as I was walking back home, I noticed 4 dogs in the backyard. It's like, I just put her in the house. And then when I got inside, all 4 of those dogs, plus the other one that hadn't gone outside, were there to greet me. So it's like, Shadow Puff has figured out the dog door. Then when I went to take the dogs on a walk, since she's figured out the dog door, she took herself out. It's like, I am not chasing you from outside to make you go on a walk. So, don't know that that's working in her favor, because I think she likes the walks, but whatever, is what it is. And that was a big thing today, with the dogs getting in the nastiness that he left on the floor. It's like, I don't want my dogs to get into his filth, right? Obviously, that's not healthy. That's not sanitary, right? There's nothing about that that's an okay. And he don't care, right? So I'm pretty confident that if it came down to one of my dogs getting sick because he was shitting himself in the living room and leaving it on the carpet, he wouldn't care. He would probably appreciate the fact that it bothered me or pissed me off at all. If it, like my ex, if it, I talked about when I left him, there's that, there was the shift when I was, there was one day I was laying on the bed, like not fully laying down, like I was kind of leaning back on some pillows that had propped up on the wall, propped up against the wall, and he had recently found out that I was planning on leaving and had a storage unit and was moving stuff to the storage unit. And he was like, well, come on, we'll go get it. And it's like, no, we're not. You're not touching my stuff. The last time you got near my stuff, you unpacked it and, you stole a bunch of stuff out and hid it around the house so I couldn't find it. It's like, we're not doing that this time. That's why I had to have the practice round before I really knew what to do the next time around, right? So, I get... So I'm laying in bed this day, right? And Ziva's right there with me. All the dogs are right there with me. I think they were all on the bed. And he had just gotten back from work or whatever, and we're just kind of... He was trying to play nice so he could talk me into staying, right? And he says, you just need to get laid, and then you'll be happy and won't go anywhere. It's like, and he tries to force himself on me, and I shoved him, and when I did... he fell back into this little partial wall that was between the closet and the bathroom. And in that time, like, all three dogs, like, jumped to my aid. Like, Gidget laid across my chest, Taz stood over my waist, and Ziva stood over my feet. And Ziva and Taz were just, like, snarling at him and barking. And Gidget was just... she was right around 2. And she had stayed with him for 9 months when I had to leave her there because the first time they wouldn't let me take my 2 other dogs because they didn't know them. So I had to leave them behind. And then he proved that he was not capable of taking care of anything beyond himself because he didn't care enough about anything else, right? So, like Taz was spending like a ridiculous amount of time in the crate. Like, he would be at work for 12 to 14 hours a day, and then he would go and... want to go out to eat with some guys afterwards and just not be home because he didn't want to go home by himself. It's like, there's still dogs there. There were a whole bunch of lizards that he needed to take care of. It's like, didn't matter. I wasn't there to do it, right? I wasn't there for him to annoy, so he had no interest in going home. And then, after Gidget ate his IU hat, that was like his favorite hat, she like tore a big chunk of the logo off. He got mad and blamed it on Taz, even though he knew she did it, but he hated male dogs. But he didn't say that before we got Taz. He just waited until later, And then once Gidget ate his hat, Taz had to start going back in the crate at night. So it's like, I don't know if he was out an hour or 2 a day. He might have just been in the box the whole time. So obviously he didn't stay there. Yeah, but like the big thing, going back to the story with my ex, is like when the dogs were protecting me, it had that, that intuitive voice chimed in and said, they are doing their job of protecting you. It is now your job to protect them. It is time to go. And, so that kind of sealed the deal on that. And then there was like a day, one day, I think that same week, where he was chasing Taz around in the living room and was trying to kick him. And I got in his face and, he went all sorts of sadistic and started mocking me and whatnot. And it's like, he had been saying, going right back with the comments that he kept making about how he should have raped me when he had the chance. He started saying that he found himself getting so angry that he could see himself accidentally killing somebody someday. And then it's like, I just had that real strong realization. It's like, he's either going to do something to me and then I can't do anything to protect my dogs and I have no say-so in what happens, or do something to one of them to get to me for the same reason, right? Just get to me and make it his whole... I don't know what message that was. Our record show. But I honestly, I could see my dad doing something, which is why I feel like we're kind of, we're in crunch time. I said last month that August was the last full month I would be there. It's like, I don't know how it's all working out, but I know that there are things coming up. And I told my brother and sister, I'm like, it's the biggest thing right now is I don't know how. It's like, okay, she offered to rent me a truck. It's like, I appreciate that. It's like, we didn't have the dogs in there traveling with my brother when we went to Oklahoma the last time because it didn't seem like a real safe option. There wasn't really enough room for it. I had this thing on the floorboard that it was a little more of a prop, but the seat didn't stay down without somebody's butt on it. So it's like, that's not really a good option, right? It's kind of a pain in the ass to get this long ass dog in there because he would have had the hound. So it's like, I can't really go that route, but at the same time, the 3 vehicles over there, well, those are all theirs. The truck has a fucking like $800 a month payment on it. It's like, I definitely don't want that shit. And the car, I don't know where it's at. The other one, the Edge, and the other one, the Escape, doesn't have the tow package, so I wouldn't be able to hook a trailer up or anything to it. Now, if that was an option, I don't feel like they would miss that one. But also, it doesn't have that, so it's not really an option either. So it's like, okay, so I need to manifest some things together and make it work so I can get my ass out there. Like, best case scenario would be if my brother could come out and they have apparently a Bronco now, and we could like attach a trailer to that would work, but I don't know that would be a realistic option with the kid in school. And yes, her mom works there, which I guess might make it more possible, but I don't know if she's there like way early before school starts or what, or like if she would be able to do that at all, so it's like, I don't know. And I don't know. I just gotta not try to figure out everything. I don't need to know everything, right? What I need to know is I will be out of there soon. It's all going to come together, and in a way that proves that, there's something much bigger out there that's pulling the strings on everything and has everything under control, right? And I keep getting these messages about trust the process and all this stuff. So it's like, yep, it just keeps reminding me, and I put that poster on my my desk to remind me of that point, right? So it's like, yep. And then, like I keep pulling cards that talk about it too. And yeah, so it's just like, as uncomfortable and weird as it is to be in the space of not knowing, but also knowing that I'm going to be leaving very soon, all I can do is focus on what I can do and do that, right? And like I was also getting, like, there's I have this it's a Twin Flames, I forget what it's called, some kind of oracle deck, and there's this card in it that's the distorted feminine, and it talks about needing to control everything. And it's like, well, that's obviously not an option. So it's like, we got to heal this aspect that, wants to control everything and, lean into the trust side of it. But at the same time, I don't know what any of that's going to look like. And I guess the universe says it's not my business right now, but it'll work out somehow. But I know, like, with the shit that's going on, it's like, it's going to come together quickly once we get moving in that direction. So, immensely grateful that my brother and my sister-in-law are as aware of what's going on as they are, and in agreement that I need to get out of there, and have offered to let me go there if if that's what comes together. Curtain stuck to me. But yeah, we're at 4:30. It's past the doggies' dinner time. So those over there will be miffed. This one will just be happy to be back with her friends for a while. And now that the other one knows how to use the dog door, she'll probably teach this one to use it, which will be good, honestly. But at the same time, if I have to lock them in or out, now I'm going to have to actually lock them in or out. So, it doesn't happen very much. But like if somebody, like the home health people that were coming for my dad when he had the first strokes, I would just lock mine outside. For my mom's supposed to have home health at some point. So they'll probably get locked out then too. But then too, since this one's figured out how to run in and out the door, and is already a pain in the ass to catch, when I do need to catch her, I'll have to lock her in so I can do that. But we'll make it work. Here, I'll show you this. Silly little dog. Anyway, yeah. There was a lot of news drama yesterday, and of course I found out on Instagram. It's kind of interesting. I heard about the dude that got killed yesterday when he was making shitty comments about Taylor Swift needing to, submit to her husband and take his name and all this silly shit, and churchify her or whatever. And I remember having this passing thought of, that dude is not offering anything useful to this world. And I wanted to say that was like last week. And then yesterday, he gone. And I saw a lot of people talking about the comment that he had made, saying that if the school shootings and whatnot happened, it was basically an acceptable thing in order to keep the Second Amendment rights and all this shit. And I just kind of feel like, going with my grandfather as well, like, I don't feel like that's somebody that's really a worthwhile miss for this world. That said, I also feel like the people behind that are the same people that are responsible for the attempt on the pedophile in chief's ear, when they were trying to deify him. Right, so there's this attempt on his life because they were basically trying to push him into that godlike status, right? They wanted people to really, sink their teeth in on this idea. So I feel like it's the same people that actually did go through with killing this other dude that are responsible for it. And it's specifically to create problems so that side that is so hell-bent on believing all the bullshit that toxic douchebag is putting out into the world, making it okay for his followers to come after anybody not in support, right? And anybody who speaks out against him in any kind of way, right? So now they have a martyr. And they're pointing fingers but not in the right direction. They're just, but conveniently those files seem to have disappeared, because that was like going around and around and around again. And yet all at once, oh, look over there. Now there's a martyr. And now, where'd the files go? So there ain't no way this isn't all on that side. And I definitely do not condone violence in any way. And I feel like his situation is more karma. That's what he was putting out there. So why wouldn't that be the way he goes out? And, hearing some of the shit that he said, like somebody had a video posted earlier where some black kid had confronted him about a comment he made saying that the civil rights movement should never have happened. And he said he said that wasn't what the kid said that he had said wasn't exactly what he had said, but then the movement was still a mistake. And the kid made a comment about, without it, I wouldn't be here. And you can hear him walking away saying, you bet. It's like, it's just like some of those kind of things that, like, those people that see church and see their, the cross in the other direction that I don't believe in anymore. So I have this book of symbols that was talking about originally this. I'll have to look at the name for it. 111. And there's like another one, but it was moving. So, but it was talking about how this was actually more common before, because the early Christians thought the cross was gruesome, seeing as to how their leader died on it. I mean, and had, I've said before, and we'll say again, that, I'm a big fan of this upside down one now, and I'm confident that Jesus would probably sport it this way too, because he came out of a religion to show people another way, not to create a new fucking religion. And yet we have this other religion that is like on its high horse trying to like beat everybody into submission. And it's like, there's always those people that have the cross, the normal way, that you can tell, like, it's not really somebody that gives a shit about the message so much. They're just trying to be acceptable, right? And then it's like, okay, like I've talked about, like, some symbols, like the Ankh, the key of life. It's one of those things, it's like, it's a sort of activation. So I feel like, the cross, yes, though it's supposedly he died on the cross or whatever. But I feel like the purpose of the symbol was to make this one less common, because this is more of an activating thing, whereas the other one, I feel like the purpose of it is, okay, my dad has a shirt that has a soldier, it's got a flag on it, it's got the cross, right? It's got the soldier bowing to the cross, with the flag. It's like, it says, I will serve, right? So whereas mine, non serviam, in the back says, I will not serve. It's like, I feel like the purpose of the cross is basically to show the system who's willing to go along with the system, right? So, like, if you're seeing this, then you're kind of more activated to make the do the work to make the connections to heal the masculine and feminine aspects of yourself. Like, maybe not there's always more to it. But like the symbol is a means of the sort of activation. But I remember seeing it at one point, and I've heard it, that book, the symbols book, even talks about it as, some people will call it the cross with a handle. But it's like the top part, it's supposed to be the womb, right? And I think one thing was talking about Isis and Osiris. I don't remember. Was it womb of Isis? I don't know. But, even like that, like the things that have come up. Okay, 9/11 is actually a light worker activation code kind of a thing, right? So then, of course, the 9/11. Hey, I think today is 9/11. Yep, right there. Like when that happened, I still think, there, as with everything, there's like people pulling the strings, so to speak, and, pushing to have the issues come up. Like from there, it became the, Islamophobia and whatnot. I don't know. It's like there's so much with that. And conveniently, dude died yesterday, and today there's like the hate on that side. It's the system. It's a power play for the system. The system is making the moves to ignite the problems amongst the people, right? So united we stand, divided we fall, right? So if they can keep us all divided amongst ourselves and distracted away from the actual things that are going on, like suddenly the freaking Epstein files disappear because everybody's distracted by the fact that this guy died. And I think it was a event that was already on camera, so some people saw it actually happen, but then, it's like there are other people sharing it so you can see it. It's like, I don't want to see that. But still, to get that, the emotion with it, right? It's like those pulling the strings are trying to force us to attack each other because we were starting to get a little more united on the one point. It's like, I don't know how many people I saw that would kept throwing out the Epstein files, the Epstein files, the Epstein files, and now, poof, where'd they go? But, now you can see, the rage on the red side, and they're accusing, they actually want people to think that it came from the blue side. It's like, no, there's no way that wasn't an inside job. And my money's on the same damn people that attempted anything on the fucking dictator, his ear, right? It is the same people. I guarantee it. And, now they're pushing more on the division end of things, right? But like, I don't know. Anyway. I was watching something that was talking about, or maybe I read it, I don't know. It was talking about anger is sacred and has power, but it is a matter of what you do with it, right? So, of course, they want people, acting in anger to destroy other people. And what we should be angry about is the fact that there's a whole system that's, fucking trying to destroy all of us. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up so I can go feed the dogs and get back to my packing. I think since My bookcases are almost completely empty. I'll probably run them over to the storage unit. Maybe today. And if not today, tomorrow. I'm definitely on the agenda, though. But yeah, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.